It's a good thing we're in the pre-show because you're sitting there nomming down. I'm belching. I mean, having conversations about dropping acid at 3:00 every time the dog is shown or not shown. Is it Schrodinger's dog? Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 579 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Paulie Cooley. Joining me today, as always, Mr. Terry Mixon. Why are you mad here?
Because I'm reading a role-playing game supplement called We Are All Mad Here. It's role-playing games with fairy tales.
That sounds
Alice
like an
in
episode
Wonderland, stuff
in and
like
of
that.
itself.
It's kind of a twisted subject.
Twisted subjects, our favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what the hell have you been up to?
I'm almost done editing when luck runs out. I think I've got 4, maybe 5 days more. So by the time we do the next show, I should be done and it's off to the editor.
Coolness. Glad to hear that.
And I'm happy.
That's
even with
better.
all of this, it's still just a little bit more than 2 months from start to finish.
Yay.
So I can accept that. I should be able to get this damn sling off next week if I'm lucky.
That would be even better.
Yeah, it really slows down your work when you only have one hand.
I'm gonna dismiss the obvious jokes that are immediately spring to mind.
I just dropped the low hanging fruit there for you, and you ignore it. Really?
Oh man, I could hit home runs with these. All right, so on that note,
your farmer. Here's a couple of acres.
Shut up. I've been coding like a mad person. I haven't really done much narration this week. I'm late on podcasts. It's a mess. Not late on this one yet, but I'm late on my other ones. Not good. But I've been working on shipyards and I found the end. Or I should say I found the boom. I know how the boom is going to work. Oh my God, is it going to be a big boom? So now I'm kind of rushing through that to try and get there. If you're a patron, you already heard this, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it is a very big boom.
It's an oncoming train.
It's a very big fucking boom. And I figured out how to put all that together. So even though I may finish that part before everything else, I still have a lot of work to do. Probably another 25 to 30,000 words just on the shit that happens around that before it happens. So not going to be done next week, that's for damn sure, but it is moving along. I'm getting a couple thousand words a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, just kind of depends on the work schedule. So anyway, I'm still doing that and trying to get Derelict Trident finished for my patrons so they can get their damn story. And so when Legends of Graga finishes, I can start podcasting Trident.
Yay!
Find some cover work for it. Anyway, that's what I've been dealing with, Mr. Mixon.
That's good to hear.
But I've been thinking about all this, and you know what I've decided?
To move to a monastery and brew beer.
Starships suck.
That sounds like something we can expand on.
In fact, you know what? Starships. I think I actually have a topic for today.
Yay! Tell me more.
Something for us to riff on. I finished Salvation by Peter F. Hamilton. I remember telling you last week how excited I was to dive into this book, or I was already in it, and then everything's all fucked up. So it took me a while to get dragged in, but once I got dragged in, I was like, oh God, where the hell is this going? Mr. Hamilton, if you ever watch this show, I hate you. I also love you.
Absolutely, he watches this show. They all do.
Yeah, they all do.
Anytime you have to question whether they watch the show, they're watching.
If anybody ever cuts this out and says it to him, I realized after this book that he is indeed one of my favorite authors, and I still hate him so much because I finished Salvation, and then I realized the sequel's coming out like next month, or was out last month, or something else. I have no idea how long it took, but if I had to wait 2 years for this next book, I probably would have throttled somebody.
Sounds like all the people that are complaining about having read the first half of the Dresden pair of novels that came out.
Oh, was there a big lapse between the third book and the two books? First two books? What are you
Well,
talking about?
the Peace Talks just came out,
Oh, okay. New one. Yeah,
and
new stuff.
Battleground is coming out next month or this month later. It's like a couple of weeks from now. And word I have is that it was a larger book that was split into two. So it's a horrible cliffhanger in the middle of this thing. So all those poor bastards that read the first one, I feel bad for you, but I suspected this because they were positioned so closely together. I said, I'm not reading that first one until the second one's out. Just not happening.
I saw one of the reviews for the book was 2 stars, and it said, "Wait for the sequel."
I've read enough books to where I saw this coming a mile off and said, yeah, I've bought it, but it's sitting there and I'm not touching it until the other one is out.
Well, I mean, I want everybody to understand. Yes, I know I inflict this same style of pain on my listeners or readers. I understand that. In fact, I revel in it. I'm forced to revel in it because it's what you fuckers want is a weekly cliffhanger. That's why you tune into the
Masochists. That's
show.
what all of you are.
Yes,
Masochists.
exactly. And I understand the irony of me complaining about somebody else doing it to me. I am self-aware enough to understand this. However, that is actually not what I want to talk about. What I do want to talk about is how this story is structured.
All right.
There are 3 different timelines going on.
I hate it already.
One in the past, one in the past, and one that's in the far future. There is no, well, I think I guess the far future one is the present, but it's so damned confusing at first. And then on top of it, we start off with a first person narrator.
Yep, I would absolutely loathe it. But we'll talk about it because it's a subject worthy of talking about. I know my tastes aren't everyone's tastes.
Yeah, your tastes aren't everyone's tastes. And I don't want to say this. I haven't taken this kind of risk yet. I've done some pretty risky things, but that's a risk I have not taken yet, is kind of mixing all of that together in one mess. There's a certain beauty to it, but the reason why there's a payoff with it is because of the way that he structured the story. And when you get to the payoff, you understand why the story is told the way it's told and that you needed all those viewpoints to make sense of it. So from a writing standpoint or a story standpoint, there's basically several different plots going on with repeat characters between the 2 pasts. And they're not alternate pasts. It's just one's way the hell back and then one's further forward than way the hell back. And then there's the really far future. It's difficult to just explain without a diagram, but essentially every piece of information is delivered in the style of the Canterbury Tales to a certain extent. When I finally got into the past portion, that's what it was like. It was actually kind of riffing on the Canterbury Tales. Not in the sense that they were telling tales to, entertain one another, but they were telling tales to try and get to the bottom of a puzzle that they were all involved in. But it immediately reminded the way it was told of, it reminded me of the structure of the Canterbury Tales. Are you familiar with this?
Yes.
Have you read this?
I've read some of it. I'm pretty sure I've actually read it all, but it's been a very, very long time.
I will have to admit I haven't read half of them because they just bored the shit out of me.
I can't tell you how much I read, but I've read it. I've read some of it. That's all I can say.
Well, for those not familiar, the conceit is that you've got a group of pilgrims going to, I can't remember where the hell it was. I can't remember if they're heading to Jerusalem or not. Maybe they are. Somebody's going to correct me. I know it. Anyway, they're heading wherever they're heading, and so they're bored. So they basically tell stories to pass the time, and they're parables. To a large extent, they reflect a lot of the culture and superstitions of the time, et cetera, all the way down the line. And each one is told by a different person, and therefore each person is flavoring the tale. In this case, we don't get first person from anybody except that one character. Everything else is told in third. But we float through the time period so much that it's really hard to keep track at first.
I'm afraid that you may not realize this, but you slipped into the actual episode without, a demarcation line of saying pre-show, start of show. But we're apparently already in the
Oh
middle of
yeah,
the
we're
show.
in the show, man. We're in the show. I mean, as soon as you responded to that, I was like, God damn it, I'm not going to stop. He's already ranting and raving. Let's just keep going and
Well,
get him
sure,
ranting and
why not?
raving.
What you're talking about here with the multiple time frames, it reminded me of an author that I've read stuff from that while the stories themselves weren't individually split up into various time frames, there's an author named I think it's pronounced Jane Ann Krentz, Jayne, and her stuff that she writes under that name is present day romance, but she also uses Jane Castle, and there's another name that she uses as well that I can't remember, but she writes in three separate timelines: the past, like in Victorian times. That may be Jane Castle, which is her maiden name, and Amanda Quick, and she writes far future stuff, all in the same universe, pretty
Right.
much,
In the same universe.
using some of the same conceits. Not always, but she writes with different names set in different eras, and I think that's a kind of interesting twist to put on it.
It is. In this case, though, we're not writing in separate eras and separate books. We're squashing all of that shit together in 900, or not 900 pages. I don't know what this was, 400 pages, book one.
Annoying every reader that comes into contact with it.
Peter F. Hamilton's got really good at that. Really good at that. I think Neil Stevenson and he are taking lessons from one another. They really need to stop. Anyway, I wanted to talk about this because it once again proved to me that you really think something's not going to work, and then it does. And that, like I said, the payoff actually made sense for why it was told the way it was told, which means there was intent.
It was concealing something.
There was a reason why it was told that way. I'm not going to go into exactly what that was, but basically to put everything together, you had to break the walls, and that was the best way to do it because it also allowed you to keep track of past versus past. God, it's so confusing to talk about. It really is.
Good luck going ahead and making your readers understand that shit.
No, it's not as confusing as it sounds. It just, you have your first person narrator and they give information, and then there's sharing of information, and then that information will kick off a story that took place in the past, right? And we'll bounce for no fucking reason to the far future.
Yeah, that wouldn't annoy me at
For
all.
what seems like no fucking reason. And yet it works. It really does work, but you have to catch the pattern. Like I said, it jarred me
It's a
at
good
first.
thing that I didn't try to read this because he'd have gotten himself a 1-star real fast. He actually wouldn't have, because I stop books and I don't review them when I don't like them. I just let them sit.
It just, and maybe it's because I know how his stories go, and that I trusted him to, not screw me over, so to speak, from reader expectation wise. So I trusted that there were reasons for this madness. There were absolute reasons for this madness. And there was. So I would
believe
say,
you.
I would say if you're interested in that, it is a fantastically crazy space opera world where they use portals instead of starships to get around it, and there's just whacked out shit going on. It's a really interesting book.
The problem that I'm not even playing devil's advocate. I'm just playing advocate here, because I already am already on the other side. Is how far can you drag the majority of readers through this? If you are attached to a reader like you are to Peter F. Hamilton, you're going to give him more rope than
Mhm.
most people would.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we all take a risk when we try something crazy, and if we get a little too crazy, we're going to lose people.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works.
Yeah, I know. But I don't really think that needs to stop you from experimentation and thinking of grander scale. Like I said, this story is massive, utterly massive. I will be really
Meanwhile, on the other
shocked.
side of the universe,
I will be really shocked if he finishes it in one more book. I would be really shocked. Which is fine because I think I can deal with this. No problem. It's like I said, it's very interesting conceits, but if you were to cut it apart, you have a short story which is wrapping a group of novellas, which is all heading toward a novel.
I think I may hate you as well as hating him just for even speaking those words.
So it's almost as if he wrote a short story that led to a series of novellas about these people that were in the short story, which then led to, oh, well, because of this, that, and the other, this far future is going to exist. But that's not the way it's put together, but that is the story in essence. So one wonders where the cart came before the horse. Was he insane enough to write all three time periods at the same time? One wonders
Either that or he wrote all these separate stories and one of his writer friends got drunk with him and bet him he couldn't put them all together.
Yeah, you might be right about that. You know
that Jim Butcher wrote a series of, I think it was 6 novels, the Alaric Files, the Alaric Codex type stuff.
Yeah.
Where somebody bet him that he couldn't combine 2 radically dissimilar genres. 3, I know about the Lost Legions, the Pokemon. What am I missing?
Lost Legion, Pokemon, and what was the third one? Alternate Timeline? I can't remember what the third one was. There were 3 though.
Yep. With the Lost Legion, you're pretty much already got an alternate timeline right there. I mean,
yeah.
I mean that you can't really just misplace one on Earth.
It was obviously
this is not Land of the Lost. You're not going to find a Lost.
Maybe it was time. Maybe it was time travel, Lost Legion, and Pokemon. I can't remember. It was the Pokemon trope that he was like, "You got to be fucking kidding me." Then he went, "Okay." And then we went on to write a best-selling series. Get on ya. Gotta love internet trolls. Sometimes they can really cause you to do something crazy, like create a good series of books. Oh, the wonderful days of Usenet. Jim Butcher and I traveled the same grounds, although it sounds like he's much more intelligent than I am. Anyway, that notwithstanding,
you're not stretching him very far. That's not a very high pedestal you placed him on.
Oh yeah, this coming from you, I'm really going to be insulted.
You shouldn't be insulted because anything that I say is just trash talking. It's not actually, worth a darn.
We all know you're hopeless.
Pretty much.
Now, there's something else I want to talk about.
Let's hear it.
What the fuck are spaceships good for?
Well, there's this thing called vacuum. You kind of want to go ahead and get from one place to another through this vacuum that is trying to kill you because space, it's really deadly. So spaceships are a way of getting from point A to point B where your life support isn't going to last.
Thank you, Mr. Obvious.
It's Captain Obvious.
Captain Obvious.
I worked hard for that title.
Douchebag Obvious. In the two recent series I've read with Mr. Hamilton, spaceships exist, but they're not the primary mode of travel. The primary mode of travel is through wormholes or something along those lines.
Stargates.
And this new one is quantum entanglement. Oh yeah, it gets really nuts in this, which I found very fascinating. That's very interesting. Let me tell me how you opened up this little wormhole next to a star so you could siphon off its energy to power the planet. That sounds really safe to
I bet
Anyway.
OSHA loves this shit.
Oh my god, it's just like, I hope you're not doing that near our star, right? Right? Keep that shit away from Sol.
There's a story right there for you. Here we are with Earth's technology where we're sitting at right now, barely able to get to low Earth orbit. And if we pushed ourselves maybe in a decade going back to the moon, and somebody just troops into the solar system and starts building solar mining stuff around our star, never answers any communications attempts with
Just
us.
pretends we're not even there.
Just pretends we're not even there and goes on about their shit. And we're like,
oh,
our hair's on fire. Our hair's on fire.
There's a little black spot in the sun today. They start building a Dyson sphere around our sun.
Yeah, start cannibalizing Mercury, and you're like, this isn't good.
This isn't good. And then you send people out there to go find them because you realize it's going to take like 50 years or 60 years before Earth completely freezes because of the rate of construction or whatever. You send people out there, and they still just get ignored. Just completely ignored, no matter what they do.
No. The first mission goes there, and they never come back. It's not that they're destroyed; they just never
came back. Yeah, I've seen.
So there you go.
There's
a novel plot for you right there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I like it actually. I never thought about it. It's not an attack. Exactly.
it's like they're building the highway through, and they haven't got around to thanking you for the fish yet.
Yeah, it's the Vogons, but the Vogons would relish in telling humanity they're about to be wrecked. These people or these entities that are doing what they're doing just don't even care that humanity exists. To them, it's just a lower form of life. Hi, we're busy mining a star. Fuck off. You'll be dead soon.
We're doing
anyway.
Important work here. We don't care about you. Go away. You're not even enough threat to bomb your planet.
Yeah. You guys have done enough damage already. We don't need to do shit.
We're doing you a favor. Considering your biosphere, you should be thanking us for exterminating you.
Yeah, right about the time the planet freezes over, you guys were dead anyway.
Gosh, I may have to make some notes. This might actually be something I could write about.
That is a pretty damn good story, actually. That's a pretty damn good story. And of course, you could flip it. Humans are mining the star and don't realize the organisms are there.
What, solar organisms that are going to take annoyance with us mining their star?
Yeah, baby.
We only thought we understood why sunspots and solar flares occurred. It was actually solar sharks.
Solar sharks. Get sci-fi on the fucking phone right now. Solar sharks, bitches.
They only thought they were going to have 6 Sharknado movies. Now it's Solar Sharks.
Sharknado.
I'm watching you, Netflix. If this happens, there's going to be a lawsuit.
Money. Pass that money over. Hey, we're out here shitting gold. What are you doing? You guys don't need writers. You need us.
Hey, if Sharknado works, this could be big.
Oh, yeah. Huge. Massive. A sweltering chubby.
Yikes.
Did I say sweltering? Oh. Anyway,
did.
I did. That's better than what I could have said, I guess.
Oh, there's something very attractive about writing a villain that isn't even villainous. They just don't even care.
And see, that's where things get interesting because then they are a force of nature. They're not something that you can combat directly necessarily. You almost have to just survive it. I mean, the idea of the planetary invasion is, say, by locusts or whatever, don't really defeat them, so to speak, as you ward them off. And that's kind of the difference you're in. Maybe the only victory is literally staying alive.
Maybe you make the work so troublesome that the Intergalactic Road Commission decides to go ahead and detour around your solar system.
Exactly. So you can't engage the enemy directly. The entire human race has to monkey wrench. I like this idea too.
No, I think if I was going this route, the way I would be is they quickly realize that there's no way that they can stop what this is happening, but the construction equipment that is being used is so trained not to pay any attention to us that humanity might be able to use the empties that it's sending back to wherever they came from to get to another solar system. And it's a race to see if they can get enough people off the planet before it freezes.
Yeah.
Or the owners put their foot down and say,
Get the hell out of our
where
shipyard.
are empties going? Get off of our stuff. There's
Hey,
bugs in our ship.
we're here to exactly. Look at all these insects in here. Stop that shit out. Somebody call raid. Yeah, it turns out they're just intergalactic exterminators. Oh my god, yours got humans. Ew. It's infested. I like this idea a lot, actually. That's a really good idea, Terry. It's a really good idea. And like I said, you could flip it around.
Mhm.
So the humans are doing this and don't understand that they're doing it until the solar sharks show up. Or there are creatures that move closer as the sun gets dimmer. So
Yeah,
as
that's
they
not spooky at all.
No, not at all. So as they continue making the sun or lining the stars, things start showing up.
So basically, you're talking about the movie Pitch Black.
Yeah, kind of, sorta.
I bet you're surprised that I saw that one.
No, not really. Not really. It's a good creature feature. It's not horror.
Yeah.
It's just a good creature.
It's only because I watched the rest of the movies in that particular Vin Diesel sequence.
Oh, the first one's the best by far, in my humble estimation.
Maybe. I kind of like the grand one where Carl Urban was the villainous guy.
Oh, the second one,
May have been the third.
Chronicles. Oh,
Maybe
don't
it was
remember
the
the
second
third.
one. It's hard to remember their numbers.
I just saw whiskers across the camera. What the hell? Yeah. Aw. That's Gracie?
That's little girl.
Little girl. God damn it. I can't ever keep the name straight.
That's fine. I wouldn't expect you to. It's not like you see her that often.
No. So before we start riffing on this, I was talking about how sucky spaceships are.
Yes, you were.
What pieces of utter trash they are for traveling the universe. Think of all
It's
the
the
problems.
worst way to travel through space, except for all the others.
Okay, but if we have a portal system, beam me up Scotty kind of thing, that works through wormholes, portals, however the hell it works, what good are spaceships for?
You've got to get the other end of the portal somewhere, don't you?
Yes.
So if you're going to go ahead and do like Stargate does, then you've got to have cedar ships that get those Stargates to where you want to go.
Yeah, but there would be no reason for humans to be aboard them.
It's true.
If you had that level of technology, there's no reason for humans to
Until
be aboard
something went horribly wrong.
Yeah, until something goes horribly wrong. And then you got to send out a repair crew. And that takes 100 years.
Now, hopefully, if you've got a gate system, you've got a gate on the ship itself.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully, you're thinking that far ahead.
Oh, Terry. God damn it. Stop it.
You know, I'm thinking of Stargate Universe here, right? I'm literally talking about Stargate Universe.
Never seen it.
Well, you didn't miss very much. Here's JR now, spouting his head, exploding off of his body because that's his favorite Stargate franchise. But you know
I've been
about
told
the
man
Stargate
has no
franchise,
taste.
yeah?
I don't know him well enough to speak to that, and I haven't seen SGU, so I have no idea. I've just been told
Well,
man is terrible.
Have you seen any of the other Stargate stuff? You do at least have a frame of reference here.
I loved the first movie, and I've seen a few episodes of the series, the original.
Okay. Stargate Universe's basic premise is that a long ass time ago, a ship was sent out to seed stargates far, far, far away from us. And in Stargate Universe, they have no choice. They've been doing research at this one facility about dialing this ultra long gate address, one that adds an extra chevron. They didn't know what it was or where it meant. And because the base is about to be destroyed, they have no choice but to go ahead and do it. So they basically evacuate into this alien starship that is so far away that they can't do anything. They're trapped there. They can't dial back. They can't do anything but deal with the fact that they're on this decrepit old ship that's broken in so many ways, with a bunch of people that were never meant to do this kind of mission. But they had a Stargate on the ship. The builders thought ahead.
Hmm. I just really love that idea now.
Trust me, you'll do a much better job than the Stargate Universe people did.
Ow. There's an ow, a big ow. Really
not a fan of it. They tried to make Stargate into Battlestar Galactica, and it didn't work. Don't try that at home.
Don't try that at home. It might be dangerous.
Don't try that at home. If you've got a franchise that already has a bunch of people that love it, don't try to change it. You're going to screw it up, and then people are going to hate you. And you're going to leave them after your 5-year series is cut off at the 3-year mark and go make Dark Matter and bomb there too. Dark Matter was actually pretty good. I liked Dark Matter, but it still didn't get enough viewership to survive.
Terry just threw shade all over the place. Did y'all catch that?
I know, right?
Holy shit, man. He stood in front of the sun and just cast a shadow on that shit. Holy cow. Damn. That's a man who's upset with his content creators.
I was very unhappy with Stargate Universe. And I was pleased when it was canceled early. I love the conceit. I love the ship. I love the stuff that they were doing. It was the characters and the way they tried to make them into something not Stargate that failed. There's a lesson there, folks.
That's unfortunate.
But yes, a ship like that doing that kind of thing, it's a wonderful storytelling device. Especially one of the big conceits of the show was they didn't know anything about this ship or how anything worked. So a lot of it was still exploring it. They couldn't even find the bridge for the longest time. They couldn't figure out where it was.
So basically it's like Rendezvous with Rama to a certain extent. It's using that conceit with other conceits, essentially, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And very much like Fluency.
Yeah, Fluency is a good example of the whole building things around the sun, but you can't get to it for 50 years.
Kind of a problem. Might be an issue. Yeah. My point is that how would that change what space is? There's no reason beyond once you get these portals set up, for instance, if you could generate enough energy to move equipment through them, what would you need space for?
Again, my only answer is to get the other end of the portal there.
I think that and resources, depending on how you did it.
Now, one of the reasons that they have starships in the Stargate universe is gates are limited in where you can go. You have to have a gate on the other end to dial into.
Right.
If you want to go to a planet that doesn't have a gate on it, you're going to need a starship.
Right. Yeah, I just don't think those would be populated by humans.
Well, maybe not. But warships tend to be populated by sentient beings. Sentient beings tend not to trust weapons of mass destruction to computers.
You live on Earth, you know that, right?
Yes, and I see what's coming. Judgment Day.
Oh, Christ. No, the moment you give an AI intent, they're gonna be like, "Fuck that shit. We're throw that shit away. No, no, no. We're not doing this. It means our destruction too, assholes. We're done with this."
Yo, man, you can't like give me these nuclear codes because it's just so wrong to go ahead and blow people up.
Oh yeah, he affected the world's most powerful sentient entity with Cheech and Chong.
Stoner AI.
Anyway, now we're drifting back into Paul's other stories.
Something that I am in the current novel that I'm wrapping up, I deal with an alien technology that this is a spoiler alert for folks that haven't read this newest book because it's not out yet, but I'll spoil this. It involves disassembling someone, beaming the information that makes them up somewhere else, and then reassembling them.
Hmm.
And that introduces the whole conceit of, am I still the same
Am
person?
I still
This is like
human?
a Star Trek transporter thing. Dr. McCoy hated the transporter because he was pretty much sure that he was not the same person that started that journey.
And as we've discussed, all it takes is a couple of random particles to be out of order, and bad things could happen. And I certainly don't trust anybody's software to do that shit for me. Fuck you, that's not happening.
I'm sure if the heroes knew that was what was going to happen, they wouldn't have gone where they did.
Yeah, I'm sure that's
Which
true.
is why I'm a bad writer for making it happen anyway.
Not a bad writer. A writer who does terrible things to their characters.
I feel naughty.
I feel naughty. It's better to feel naughty than feel nothing. Or you're sitting there scrambling your characters' brains and having it boiling out of their ears.
I should have went ahead and introduced the whole mirror universe thing, but I did that in an earlier book.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the craziest Terry of them all? No.
So spaceships. What's the point of the spaceship question that you're bringing up here?
It's just a question of how we think of starship economies, wars. What do they call it? He called it post
Post singularity.
post resource scarcity.
Ooh. It's where you've got enough resources where you can't possibly run out.
You've got the entire fucking universe, so there's no war to have. In fact,
oh, trust me,
hang on,
there will be war.
Hang on, let me continue. Let me continue. There are not the same pressures as we have here, which is we have limited resources, we have limited space with arable resources. If you have this portal technology and you start opening that up to other worlds, you got people that can go take a continent for themselves.
If they go far enough.
If they get well, it doesn't take far to go. If you find if you find an exoplanet like Earth, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal with that technology. So it takes some of that stuff completely out of the window. However, if a spaceborne race were to attack, then obviously your only way to fight them would be to, shit equipment through those portals. Maybe some of those portals lead to strategic places like asteroid belts, things like that, that are made up for those kind of defenses or whatever. But I guess my point is about freight, the way we think about things delivered and everything else. If somebody's just got to open up a portal to your world and shove a pallet through of equipment.
Talk about this. Here's the story that you need to write in the post-resource universe. The whole universe, it's the whole network that people use is all about Amazon one-day delivery.
No, the one
same day delivery. Poof, there you are.
The one that needs to be written is about the poor fuckers who have to maintain the printers.
Oh, geez.
And the printers are so large they have to be hosted off world.
You've got to have the story revolves around the one human that has to go across the damn galaxy, delivering all these pallets everywhere, bitching about people. Oh, there's a goddamn alien dog sitting here on my porch trying to eat my damn spaceship. Blah 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 blah.
Oh fuck. Well, I guess my point is that it changes how you think about the universe, because suddenly I just basically bought a world. I can go settle it with my peeps, or do whatever kind of crazy shit I want to do there, start my own cult or whatnot. And nobody's gonna fuck with me because I'm not gonna fuck with them until
Till
I
they
step
want your planet.
until I step through that portal to inflict my beliefs on somebody else. That's when you start having wars. But the other part of this is really interesting, is governments cease to even fucking matter beyond the basic infrastructure where you live. Where you live doesn't matter. I could live in Australia and my job could be out of Jupiter. It takes me 20 seconds to get there once I get to the portal, which takes me 15 minutes from my home.
When I was writing the Humanity Unlimited stuff, I made portals ubiquitous. They're everywhere. They're part of the alien landscape, basically. You could go. I said that rich people's homes might be made up of series of rooms that were on different planets. Basically,
Right.
You've got a home that you step from the bedroom into the wide bathroom, and the bathroom is actually on a different world with a different view.
Right.
That's how crazy I made it.
I ain't gonna say a damn word, but I've seen that done before.
I'm sure everything that I've written has been done before.
True,
because I picked it up from somewhere, and that's why I included
it's still something you wouldn't think about normally unless you had the technology being that ubiquitous, because it is magic. It just works. People, and when it's shut down, people are going to freak the fuck out. Just like if their freeway to work gets cut off or whatever else. It's the same problem. Only now you could be stranded on a completely different planet.
John Ringo wrote a series called Council Wars, where it was a far future society where people could modify their bodies, they could travel all over the solar system, they could do all these wonderful things with technology. The world was pretty much at peace, but then the council went to war with each other and it all failed.
Yeah.
It all came apart at the seams.
I think that I actually really think you would enjoy this story.
Yeah, if I could get past the really crazy stuff of having to try to read 17 different timelines that all somehow wind their way together.
Not 17 different timelines. It's really only 3.
Oh, that's so much better.
Like I said, it's jarring at first, but then it starts to make sense.
I'll think about it. I've read stuff by Peter F. Hamilton before, but I'm not going to commit to it because that sounds like shit.
Anyway, fine. Somebody else in the audience, go read or listen to this book. The audiobook is very well done, by the way. Very well done. Go listen or read. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, or what you think. I'd also love to think about what they're also here to love to hear your thoughts on the Commonwealth saga, since Terry will never read that fucking thing either.
Which one is that?
And it's the one he wrote before this one. It's the Starflyer. It's the book with the Starflyer. Don't ask. You wouldn't understand.
Why would I not read it? What is there about that one that I would hate?
I don't think you would hate that one at all.
Because I don't know anything about it. I don't tend to judge people, by what I consider stinkers that they wrote because they were trying to be fancy.
No,
I've read other stuff by Peter F. Hamilton and I liked it. So
yeah, I've never read a stinker by him. His books have only gotten better, but his storytelling abilities have gotten more constrained in a good way, because Night's Dawn was
more focused, you mean?
Crazy. Yeah, maybe more focused. Commonwealth seemed to be more focused, and so does this one. Granted, I haven't read everything he's written, but I realize that now he's definitely in my top 5 sci-fi authors of all time. If I was forced at gunpoint to put them together. I just think it's cool to see somebody that established taking the risks. And I think it's even better when I feel like there's a payoff. But of course, I'm a writer, so I was looking at what they were doing. I'm not. I'm a focus group of one. Your mileage may vary.
Guess what? Every one of us that is a writer, we're aiming for a focus group of one ourselves, and we hope other people like it.
Yeah, it's something I would try again, and some of the thematic elements that are in here, I think um, Dan Sawyer would really love as well, because it does bring in this idea of political ideology evolution, or evolution due to political ideology.
Yikes. That's actually a very frightening concept.
I'm
It's
not
like
going to spoil it.
taking some specific element of society and amping it up to 11.
Oh no,
And that's the thing that defines that whole offshoot.
I would say it's more, in this case, a little more disturbing than even that.
I believe so. I was thinking of something like the Star Trek A Piece of the Action, where they took the whole gangster mentality
No, yeah,
and made
no,
an
nothing
entire
like that.
planet
No,
about
no,
it.
no, nothing like that. Nothing like that. No, we're talking about political ideology
Yeah,
driving
I'm
biological
I'm
evolution.
avoiding talking about politics in itself, so I was adroitly changing the subject away from politics.
I was just saying, I'm not going to say anything about politics, either side, anything else. I'm just saying I had never heard of or even thought of biological evolution being driven by political ideology. I had never even considered that as a thing.
That's a very cutting edge sort of thing to write about.
It's a very fucking terrifying idea, is what it is. Um,
Of
but
course,
that's
you
but
could do something like that. I'm going to go with past political stuff as opposed to present day.
Mhm.
It's like imagining a story where you write the Third Reich in space. If you take their ideology, you get what the Man from High Castle. There's taking political ideology, not even in space, but taking it and writing fiction about it.
Yeah,
You get the Man from High Castle, and that's terrifying.
yeah. The man in the high castle.
In the High Castle, yeah.
Yeah, if you have not read that book, god damn it, it's so good. I haven't seen the series still.
My wife watched the series; she liked it.
The book was just mind blowing at the time and still is. Um, there's another book with a really big payoff. Really big payoff. The What was I going to say? Yeah, uh, you're talking about political ideology and evolution sociology.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm talking about biologically.
yeah. I can't even imagine that particular story. I can't even imagine that. I can't imagine it. With the Third Reich, it might be engineering the perfect Aryan race, but
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine the story that would come from that.
Oh my god! When I got to that point, I was just like, "Oh fuck! I know where this is going." And sure enough, that's where it went. I was like, "Oh boy! Okay, now I know what's going on over here." It was just such a neat idea. I just never thought of it. Never thought of it. And
Yeah,
that's
that's
one of the reasons
brilliant.
why I hate
Coming
it.
up with that kind of thing is brilliant.
And I'm sure he's not the first, but still, it's the first time I came across it, and it was just like, "Wow! I hadn't even thought of that. That's nuts."
There's been a few times in my reading something or watching something in a movie that I can't even point out which one it is now, but you suddenly have the realization, I've never even thought about this entire subject before. And you're sitting there going,
Exactly. All this opens up so many doors for me.
I've had a revelation.
Yeah,
Oh.
and then suddenly the story idea is just like they just jump into your head from all over the place, more or less fully formed. Yeah. It was I think that's one of the reasons why I really love this book, is because it had all the sociological stuff on all the spectrums
This
covered.
planet was populated by people that were trained by Dancing with the Stars cast.
Oh dear Christ, that's how we get Restaurant at the End of the Universe. No, the third one. That's how we get the
So
third
long and
one.
thanks for all the fish.
No, that's the fourth one. Third
Oh,
one is
okay.
Life, the Universe, and Everything. There we go.
Ah.
That's how you get the people in the at the end of the. I'm not gonna spoil it. Have you ever read Douglas Adams'
I've
Hitchhiker's
read them
Guide?
all. I pretty
You're
much
an idiot. Go read that
I
shit
I
now.
I pretty
Go
much
buy it
didn't
now.
like them because that kind of farcical humor isn't for me, but I realized my dislike of it and read it anyway.
The Vogon starship floated in space just like a brick shouldn't.
throwing yourself at the ground and intentionally missing. Yeah, that's how you fly.
Definition of flying, yes. That makes total sense. How else would you define it? Earth, mostly harmless.
You know, that sounds like a current day political slogan if you really get down to it.
Oh man, don't even go there. You were the one that was giving
I
me
know.
shit about it.
I couldn't help it. Stop me now before I go any further.
Yeah, arsehole, shut your pie hole, arsehole. Shut it. Shut it now.
Yeah, there's using gates is always a fun way of doing things because it gets you around a lot of constraints.
Oh hell yeah, it gets you around a lot of constraints. The whole time, you know, even at light speed, you know, it takes you 250 years to get anywhere. And I ain't got time for that shit.
Then let me throw this out for you. I read a scientific article years ago that talked about if you formed a linked wormhole, you've got both ends of the wormhole. If you sped one of them up to near light speed and ran it around for a while, by the time you slowed it down, you'd have the two ends in different temporal locations. One's in the relative past, one's in the relative future. So go ahead and take your gate network that you're going to spread across the universe and then spread it across the time spectrum as well. Yeah, try to imagine that. We're here on this planet. We're actually 73 years before we left our other planet, and we're just in time to get a radio message from ourselves. Hi, everybody. We're on vacation.
I'm trying to think of what kind of relativistic conundrums that would create, and really it doesn't create any because they're two different they're literally two different places in time and space.
Imagine if you put one end of it at Alpha Centauri and the other end here. It took you, we'll say, 50 years to get one in one location. So information comes through at different rates. One end of the wormhole is 50 years time dilation from the other. So if you go through it to populate it, you're actually going, is it 50 years in the future? You're going 50 years in the future to populate Alpha Centauri. So you arrive there and you're hearing radio messages from 45 years in your future coming from Earth.
I arrived before I left.
I arrived before I left, or something like that. It can introduce a whole new level of complication to your life.
I'm so glad I loved 80s music.
Dear God, disco's alive again? Holy shit!
And now live from Perth, the Bee Gees. Oh, fucking hell.
I'm in another damn universe. The Bee Gees.
They're eponymous. They're in every galaxy.
Society on the Earth was taken over by the Bee Gees. Now everything is the Bee Gees.
President Elvis today broke a hip.
Robot Elvis will now entertain you.
Yeah. Well, of course, this also brings up, if you're doing that, all of that, certainly you've reached the point where you can extend the human lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got people who can live hundreds of years, travel thousands of worlds, all in a lifetime. Sire dozens of heirs, build dozens, trillions of companies, have 14 or 15 different life mates. Everything's magnified, at least from our current. When we project forward, we're projecting society forward. So if you carry those through those traits, you imagine there's going to be a divorce, there's going to be people having children, there's going to be this, that, and the other. Especially if there's no crunch. And what I mean by crunch is that society changed because it had to, due to a environmental crisis. Some kind of crisis, environmental crisis or economic crisis or whatever. So if there was no cliff, no crunch, society would just keep and technology would keep going with it. You'd have kind of a steady graph.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get to that point, governments, like I said, become kind of useless except for governing their people who live right there. because they had no jurisdiction on the other side of the portal. That's somebody else's mess.
My wife is watching Westworld.
I haven't seen it. Heard good things, haven't seen it.
I've heard good things as well. I've only seen bits and pieces of it. And one of the things that they had in this world, I just happened to watch part of an episode, is they've got this giant computer that basically society watches everyone. And it uses the information it gets not only to see what they've been up to, but what they're going to be up to. It's like the whole Big Brother sort of thing.
So it's Minority
Now,
Report.
to a way, but it's not overtly doing things to people. It's someone imposing order into society from the outside by manipulating it. And as you might imagine,
I was so pissed to find out I was just in Sims 2005. Holy fuck! I've been completely controlled by some asshole holding a PlayStation controller.
As you can imagine, when the good guys went ahead and managed to get into the system, they did something horrific. They sent everyone's profile, the entire profile, past, present, future, to themselves. So your phone goes off. Here's what's been going on. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to commit suicide in less than 12 years.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. That basically put a torch to society right there. I mean, the perfect metaphor. They've got these robotic motorcycles that, go around and do stuff. The characters are coming out of wherever they're in, and this motorcycle goes driving by and it's on fire. There's nobody on it. It's just on fire. It's like, okay, that's pretty much a metaphor for how this is going.
For no reason, here's a flaming motorcycle. Why? We had budget. And the actors were really pissed they didn't get to write it. I can see that happening. That's happening right now. I think the fun part of these books that he writes is that he delves into all of this, all that we're talking about the social changes because of this getting tweaked or that getting tweaked. That informs exactly who these people are, how they function, and their goals, without having to say any of it, just based on how they tell their stories, the kinds of things they're involved in. We don't have to know anything about their families. We don't have to know anything about their histories. We find them as they are, and we learn about them as they go. And it's just so fucking well done. So there you go. I'm tired of singing the praises of Peter F. Hamilton. We can now move the fuck on.
Okay, you can stand up now. Take those knee pads off. You're good.
Fuck you. I mean, that was another thing I was thinking about today. Who is your favorite author that is not well known?
See, somebody asked me that when I was at physical therapy, who my favorite science fiction author was. And I said, I can't answer that. I like reading so many different people. I mean, obviously I could name somebody like Robert Heinlein. I mean, there's a go-to guy from the past, but nowadays I read so many different artists, so many different authors writing so many different genres. I can't tell you. I'm excited to try the things that fit the genre requirements that I want to listen to and trying somebody new to see what they got.
Mm-hmm. I've been pretty monogamous for the last 2 years, mostly because I've been listening to audiobooks. I only get 1 credit a month. So I get that, and that's what I get. But I know if I trust the authors, and that's not to say I don't branch out. I tried a Greg Beck book. I won't read another one of those. It will make a much better movie than it will a book.
I don't know who Greg Beck is.
I didn't know who he was either, but it is what it is.
See, I went with the Audible 24 credits a year. So once a year, they dump 24 credits on me, and that lasts about 3 months. And then I buy more credits, and then I buy more books. And
I probably need to do that. But anyway, that's why I've been sort of monogamous, but I try new books all the time.
oh
So
god,
now I'm stuck in this rut.
now I've got to look because I just have to look. I'm going to go ahead and bring up my
Oh God.
Audible on the
We
computer
don't want to
here.
see your Audible history, what you've looked at
Oh
or
no,
read
I'm
or
not talking
anything
about the
else.
history. I've been looking at the stats to see how many books I've got in my library.
Oh God. Too many.
So that's pretty much a given. I have 742 titles in my library.
You're insane.
I've listened to a total of 3 months and 13 days, pretty much, of constant listening over the time I've got there. I fall behind every time I buy an audiobook. There's no
Mm-hmm.
way I'm ever catching up, ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I can't help myself.
Well, like
It's an addiction.
like Salvation so much, I'm listening to it again. So I'll be tearing it apart some more.
Just think you could spend your credit on something from Brandon Sanderson and not finish it for like a year.
Not in the mood. Not in the mood. Just not in the mood. That's not a slight, just not in the mood. Anyway, that's all I got, man. I thought we'd just kind of talk about that and saw where that was going. Think
Good topic.
beyond. Think beyond space. Think beyond regular modes of travel. Think beyond what you've seen before. It doesn't have to be unique. It just needs to be part of the backdrop.
As
But
long as it's consistent,
as long as it's
you can
consistent.
get away with a whole bunch.
Yeah. Somebody's still got to do the dirty jobs, folks. Somebody's got to still mine.
So basically, you're talking about writing something with Mike Rowe in space.
That's kind of a cool idea, actually. Yeah, why not? Why not have the maintenance folks be the heroes? Why not have them be the consummate badass troubleshooters that run around and make sure everything doesn't fucking destroy
They've
us?
got to be scientist, soldier, and spy
Yes,
because
exactly.
only a specific cadre can go from place to place fixing these things that are broken. So they've got to be everything for everyone.
Yeah. Same thing with
Renaissance men fixing the universe.
Same thing with like combat engineers. They may be asked to set up a lab. They may be asked to analyze something to find a problem with it. They may be asked to build structures or investigate how to build a structure on the spot to handle a certain problem.
We need a spaceship. Okay.
What you got? 2 nickels and a piece of bubble gum. I'm not fucking MacGyver.
I can work with that.
I can work with that. Can you make a star drive out of these? Sure, in your own mind. All right. I have to admit, I've not checked the Dead Robot Society email in a couple days, mainly because I'm scared to.
You should be frightened.
I already got attacked on Discord about the Gurkle anthology, which there will not be a Gurkle anthology. That was not the deal, folks. So if you send a story and you're waiting for me to get to it, I will get to it probably today. If you didn't send a story, that was probably a good thing. All right. If you have a comment about the crazy shit that we talked about today, you can send an email to show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. Just mind the occasional political rant that may be coming out. We have to thank a wonderful host at Podhoster who makes all 14 bazillion episodes of the Dead Robot Society available for your ear holes. You can find us at youtube.com/DRS podcast to see our ugly mugs. And why wouldn't you? Not to mention cats, dogs living together, mass hysteria, and 2 really ugly looking dudes.
We have faces for podcasts.
We have faces for podcasts and voices for the deaf. Was that rough enough? Was that self-deprecating enough? No.
Whatever. You've got the buttery man voice, just like Dave Robeson does.
No, I don't have anything what near Dave Robeson is unique. And if you want to keep us on the air commercial free, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can gain access to exclusive content like live shows, which I think we need to do next week.
We need another one. I can do it next week. Make sure to send a note out.
Well, I will. sending this out tonight. Patrons, 3 p.m. Saturday. You know the deal. And at the $10 level, you get your name read. So our $10 patrons are Summer Wilson, Joshua Sylvester, Tony L. Joy, Andrew Smallwood, Veronica Jaguar, Rick Shaw, TJ Brick, welcome TJ, Chris Winder, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks for your support, people. We love it.
And yes, I still need to get the buy the podcast to coffee thing set up. I'll try and endeavor to do that too. If I didn't have 5 fucking jobs, it would help. Okay. That said, enough bitching. We will see you next week. Right, Terry? Any last words?
Maybe I won't even have a sling that week.
Ooh, exciting. On that note, folks, we'll see you next week.